Welcome back to another episode of Noble Thoughts. Today, we're diving into a topic that's on a lot of parents' minds: how to manage school year expenses while also building a stronger financial future for your family. From clothes and supplies to sports, field trips, and even planning ahead for college, these costs can add up fast. And that's why I am so excited to be joined by Daniel Piper. He's a partner and private wealth advisor for Heartwood Planning Group, a part of Northwestern Mutual, and he will have some great information for us today. The company has decided dedicated to helping families create a financial plan that works for both today and tomorrow. We'll talk about practical ways that parents can stretch their back to school dollars, set aside money for unexpected expenses, and even teach kids smart money habits along the way. Daniel, we want to welcome you to Noble Thoughts.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm honored and excited to be here.
Tell us how you began your journey.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm just a small town boy from the middle of nowhere, Indiana, who, I knew I liked to talk to people. I knew I was pretty good at math, and I knew I wanted to do something that I was helping people. And so, to be honest, I found this, whether you want to say it's God, the universe, or by accident, I just fell into an internship while in college and loved it and just never really looked back. I just, as you shared there, it can weigh on people. And so I got to see really what that felt like and what that looked like and how much impact and peace of mind you can provide. And so for me, that inspired me to say, hey, I want to do this. I want to make this into a business and continue to impact people.
So how do you start the conversation with someone who's never worked with a financial advisor before?
Yeah, I think number one, we first need to remove the stigma, right? I think number one, I think a lot of us think we have to have it all together to approach an advisor. And I'm just gonna be honest, regardless of where you're at in life, if you're just starting or you've been really successful at life, like we all carry some type of like financial junk drawer, right? We've kind of checked the boxes typically, we've thrown it in there and just kind of hope it never, blows back out at us. And so there's just a lot of like a lack of clarity, really, right? There's a ton of noise, not really as much clarity in the world. And so that's really, when we say, hey, we want to come in, be on your side of the table and be your financial architect, right? And so our job is to say, hey, let's understand you emotionally. This business is infinitely more emotional than it is logical, and just help you. You said behaviors earlier, right? This business is way more behavioral than it ever is financial. And so just coming alongside to help them build, those habits for them.
Talk to us a little bit more about those better habits that they could gain by working with a financial advisor.
Absolutely. I think setting things up to be automatic, first of all, like I've got good news and bad news. Most of us are like spenders, right? Which is the bad news. And you're probably not going to change that. The good news is if you adjust the actual environment in which you're spending in and flip it on its side, most of us tend to try to save what's left over at the end of the month. And surprise, surprise, there tends to be, it's like sand, right? You try to hold sand that kind of flows through your fingers. It's the same thing, right? And so if we can flip that and save first and spend what's left over, us, including myself as a spender, we can kind of recreate that. And so we coach our clients often on a 20-60-20 rule. So we don't want your fixed expenses to be higher than 60% of your take-home pay. We want you to work towards saving 20% of your net towards, things like education, maybe a vacation, maybe it's retirement. Every client's different. And then truly live life now money, right? 20% should be really discretionary spending and trying to create that habit. And nobody goes from zero to hero, right? And so it's just helping people build on that to get to where they want to go.
Now that the school year is underway, what are some smart ways that parents can stretch the supplies and clothes that they already bought this year?
Yeah. Well, I get the clothes one. I've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I feel like specifically my 4-year-old seems to grow out of clothes like every 6 weeks. So there is that. I think number one, like we're all busy, so being able to take some time off to maybe do an inventory of, hey, what did we have that was left over from the previous year? I know often we kind of school years out, we kind of shove it in the shelf, and oftentimes out of sight, out of mind. So I think you'll be surprised often what is left over. I'd also say like rotate and repurpose. We've got a couple families here that I like love how they, maybe they'll bedazzle a old backpack or they'll let the child kind of make it what they want to. Obviously, at some point you're gonna have to replace them, but there's a lot of fun stuff you can have the kid be invested in and use the backpack from last year, make it something new. But yeah, make it fun, right? And so when kids kind of see us reuse things or value the things, more is caught than taught. And so they can see kind of the value of money and how they can be, a little bit more resourceful moving forward.
As the kids grow and the seasons change, families often need to buy new clothes and shoes
Yeah.
mid-year. Any
Yep.
suggestions for budgeting those costs?
Yeah. Yeah, again, right. As a parent, I get that very much so. But I would say like look backwards first. Like history doesn't necessarily exactly repeat itself, but it does rhyme and it leaves clues. And so I think often if we look backwards, we can start to set up some habits of just, hey, we think it's going to cost whatever number, right? If it's a couple $100 a year, okay, great. Let's set aside 20 or $30 a month into a child expense account. Let's make sure it's not, oh, whoops, now we have to go buy all these clothes at once. We should be able to say, hey, just systematically, let's set that money aside. So when the expense comes, we're planning ahead. It's not a matter of if it comes, it's just when, right? And so just planning ahead on that side. Just
And
make it
I'm
automatic.
yeah, I'm thinking beyond the basics, like the school fees, the sports, the music, the field trips, all
Yeah.
these costs can really add up. How can parents prepare for these expenses?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I would start asking, right? I definitely got surprised by some expenses myself. So start asking me what you expect, maybe ask some other parents. But again, this business is pretty simple, or really finances are more simple than we tend to make it. It's just the emotion side that isn't as helpful. And so I would look at it like a sinking fund, the same thing of what we just talked about earlier, is build the fund up, try to plan ahead, right? Maybe in the summer you start saving, talk to some families who've done it before you. And again, just try to create that because we know they're going to come. We may not know exactly what they are, but we do know they're coming. And so, just like a 401k for all of us at work, it works because it's automatic, right? And so, any way we can kind of systematize that, it'll help on some of those. We'll call them surprises, but we all know with kids something's going to pop up. So, how do we plan ahead and call that play ahead?
Any ideas about strategies that can help families set aside a little money each month for school-related expenses so they're not caught off guard?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there's all kinds of different ways we've seen it done in our practice, but for a client who's a lot of times we're setting up some type of recurring cash account that they can have, think of it as a high yield savings or something like that, to where it is just an automatic, and so we've got it as a line item in what's going on there, saying, hey, we're saving X amount towards this. And so it's broadcast over 12 months versus, oh, September or August came and now we have this big expense. And so for a lot of times it's very systematic. It can be a high yield savings at your bank or whatever, but just helping set something up automatic. And you're going to hear me harp on that. Anything we can do to where, there's a reason subscriptions work so well, right? Like after the third month, you kind of forget it's there. And realistically, it's the same thing on that side.
Would you say that's the best way to build school costs into the larger financial plan for the families?
Yeah, to the best you can, right? There's always going to be surprises, which is why I always, margin of safety, right? The book Psychology of Money, the author talks about, hey, we need to plan for margin of safety to create peace of mind. So, like, if we know there's $600 in throughout the year that's going to get spent, maybe we plan for 800 or 900, right? Like, just give that margin. But if you can amortize that over 12 months versus trying to squish it all into 1 month, it's always going to be sooner, smaller is always going to be better than larger later.
What are some ways that parents can use the school year itself, like lunch money, allowances, a part-time job, to teach the students about budgeting?
Yeah, this is a fun one. And so again, I love the school year because you can, whether it's an allowance or it's lunch money, like you said, maybe it's a part-time job that they've picked up. But I go back to what I said before is like the most important thing here is it is going to be behavioral, right? And so what we've seen parents do, and there's a myriad of ways to actually do this, but what I've seen some parents do is take the 20-60-20 rule that we've taught the adults and kind of flip that and say, hey, let's try to save 60% for something in the future. Go ahead and feel free to spend 20. And then, if you're charitably inclined, give 20. And so we're starting to see that become more popular. Just being able to model that and be transparent with the kiddos, like I've seen that build habits moving forward. And then again, just like the power of trade-offs, right? If they want to go buy shoes, okay, that's great, but like you can't also go and do this or whatever that is and helping them see it. But just speaking from like kind of some clients who have some older kids and using their hindsight as some of our foresight, I've seen things like envelope method. I've seen, matching, right? Like, some of us have older kids who might be going and getting their first car. Like, hey, if you save to do this, like we're gonna match it. Maybe it is the shoes. But then just teaching maybe, some other ways I've seen is maybe instead of an allowance, maybe it's like, and I hesitate to use this word, but like a commission, right? For completing chores or jobs or certain things around the community to where they're being taught like, hey, this is how we earn money and then value it when we actually go out to spend it.
How about for those parents who feel like they overspent at the start of the year? There's some ways that they can just kind of reset and get back on track.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, feel at peace because literally all of us have been there. So don't feel like you're the only one. I think often it's simple, not easy. Like let's take a step back and reset and look. Right? If we pause, review, kind of look at some things. A lot of times if it's cutting back into one or two areas, this is a pretty short time to catch it up. Maybe it's, and I don't know, we like to eat out sometimes, and so from our side, right, that could be a very easy one to remove. Maybe it's a habit that you have golfing. I know no parents want to hear me say that. No dads want to hear me say that, or moms if they love golfing. But a lot of times, it's just, hey, maybe there's 2 or 3 weeks or months that we need to go ahead and step aside from those to be able to get caught back up, right? So again, just kind of pause, review, maybe shuffle some things around there for a couple weeks or months. Um, you'll be able to catch back up, I promise.
Any last words for families who may be listening right now as they're thinking about their financial health?
Yeah, I go back to what I started with a little bit, like more is caught than taught, right? And so as your kids are walking and kind of seeing life, one of the questions I often ask is, hey, what did you learn about money from observing your parents? And understand like you may never talk about it, but they're watching. And so it's a huge thing. You can impact them for the rest of their life through finding some of these behaviors. And at the end of the day, reach out for help too. There's all kinds of resources in the Indy area to be able to help if it's, hey, like I don't know what this is going to look like, right? There's the Salvation Army does an event. I know there's a lot of other organizations. I mean, United Way did one maybe last month, I think, of where it's backpack giveaways and things like that. So there's a lot of other resources out there. Don't feel like you're alone. We're all in this together. So we're all figuring this crazy thing called life out together.
That's right. Daniel, this is great information. Daniel Piper with Heartwood Planning Group, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for sharing your noble thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much.